start off, I have to air a little bit of grievances here. My dad usurped a bit of my speech last night, which, yeah, it's the second time this has happened. At Larry's wedding as well. But I was going to start off talking about how Joey, when he was growing up, was very, very outgoing, very, he would not be afraid to speak his mind. And I think that really came out in our trip to Colorado and the ski trip, which the story that my dad told last night, which I was gonna can't do, but I suppose I don't need to now. Besides to say that, obviously, when he was growing up, he had no trouble sticking up for himself. Would not be afraid to say, "Hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm gonna do," and it got him out on the ski slopes when he was 4 years old. So kudos to that. But as the years went on, I think he was probably the most independent one of us brothers, and I think that as the years went on, he also kind of learned to go with the flow, and he would kind of roll with the punches, and he maybe lost a little bit of that. I'm gonna stick up for myself. This is what I want. One trip that came to mind, which exemplifies that, is I have to work this in because it is probably the best memory that I have with him. Our trip to Yosemite, where we went with one of my college buddies and his brother. I had this whole trip planned out. We were gonna go to the valley really early in the day, grab a first come, first served campsite, and then we were gonna go hike Half Dome that first day. We would come back around probably 7 o'clock at night, have a really chill evening, and then once that was done, we would go up to other parts of the park and explore. But the construction guys had other plans. The day that we arrived, we ran into a lot of construction going into the park, and we got to the valley probably around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, which, if anyone's been to Yosemite, you know that you're not going to grab spots in the valley at that time. So we had to change our plans. We drove up to the south rim of the valley, and we set up camp there. It's probably about noon or 1 o'clock at this point. Way later than we should ever start to hike Half Dome. But we decided we'll go out on the trail. There are some nice waterfalls that we can go to, and we can turn back, and it'll be a special trip. We get to the waterfall, and my friend is really gung-ho about making it to the top. We came to Yosemite, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go to the top. The rest of us were like, okay, fine. We're along for the ride, we're gonna roll with the punches. And so we end up going to the top. It's probably around 5 or 6 o'clock at this point, and we start heading down. None of us are prepared at all. No water. I had a few bottles, but I don't think anyone else had any water. So by the time we get down to where the trail almost ends, we're completely dehydrated, and we have two choices. We can either go uphill to where our campsite is, or we're going to go downhill to the valley, where we assume there's going to be a bus that will shuttle us to our campsite. We assume wrong. Bus stopped working around 9 o'clock. And so we go around, we get the last hotel room, which is really a glamping sort of experience. It's more of a tent than anything. 2 beds, we squeeze in there, completely filthy. The next day we have to wake up, we have to hike all the way up to the rim, get the car, and 3 of us, my friend, his brother, myself, arguably this is more my fault and my friend's fault than anyone's, and we were complaining all the time. It was not. I don't know why. But, so what I'm saying is I think that exemplifies how he kind of rolled with the punches and kind of let things roll off his back. But at the same time, when Catherine came into his life, I think that she does a really good job of pushing him to really experience life to the fullest and to really grab what she wants. I think maybe earlier in this week, there was a good example of that. She was very gung-ho about us making sure that he had a good time on Wednesday night. I think that he did. There was a slight encounter with a bear, but we all came out unscathed, and I believe that that just added to the moment. But so, the way that I see Catherine shaping Joey is, he kind of developed into this more mature and easygoing person, perhaps. But Catherine kind of counterbalances that. And she makes him more outgoing. And I think he said that in his vows. And I think that it really comes through in the dynamics of their relationship. And so with that, I just want to say, raising our glasses to many, many, many years of great adventures together.
And ladies and gents, I'd like to next introduce